So there was like this Tron promotional video released recently that I did not see that I guess had Mr. Beast in it. So like people who don't know what they're talking about were saying that Mr. Beast was in this movie. And me having seen it last night, I was like, Mr. Beast was in this movie? I felt like I was losing my mind. I was like, there's no way he was in that movie, and I just didn't notice. But they were wrong. I'm glad that's not the case. Unfortunately, Jared Leto was very much still in the movie. Tron. Why do we like Tron? Well, I don't know about that. Not everyone likes Tron. Tron is very much a nerd thing. I mean, it's like the original Star Wars fans or the people who read comic books, although nowadays a lot of people read comics. Come to think of it, being a nerd has become like pretty normal now, but whatever. It's for the nerdiest of the nerds. But the thing with Tron is that neither movie is very good. The original Tron, when it first released, Disney was expecting it to be like their Star Wars, and of course, it was considered a commercial failure at the time, even though it did make its money back. It's the same story with Tron Legacy. They still didn't have Star Wars at this time, so they were like, hey, let's just bring back Tron, try to reinvent it. And that's another movie where it did make its money back. It was just that it underperformed. It didn't make as much as Disney wanted it to. Yet Legacy, much like the original film, it actually developed a strong cult following over time. And these movies, they are not great. And I've rewatched them. I've watched them each at least 3 times. But what they have is 2 things: a neat concept and a cool aesthetic. Oh yeah, and I guess Jeff Bridges too. And it is kind of funny saying that, since the aesthetics of the original Tron versus Legacy are just entirely different beasts. But I think that's part of the fun, the way that Legacy kind of reinvents Tron. It takes something that was kind of lame and makes it sleeker and cooler. It's kind of like looking at a Nintendo 64 and comparing it to a PS3. And while I do enjoy the Tron movies for what they are, I think the only time where I genuinely loved Tron was with Tron Uprising. Tron Uprising was a cartoon that did a lot more with the concept. It was the first time for me that the franchise really felt like it had franchise potential. Lots of great world building, characters you enjoy, stuff like that. But the show only lasted 1 season, and since then there's been kind of this long hiatus between Tron Legacy and Tron Aries. We never really knew for sure if Tron 3 was ever going to happen. It seemed like they kept hinting at it. It was kind of in development hell for a long time. Maybe this is just how Tron movies are meant to be, like mediocre movies with a 10 to 30 year gap in between every one. Anyway, so I saw Tron Aries. I saw it in IMAX 3D, which I didn't plan. It just kind of happened that way. And I hate to say it because I just know I'm going to get lots of mean comments on this video, but I kind of liked it. And I was ready to just like tear this film apart, mostly due to my dislike of Jared Leto. Everyone hates Jared Leto. That's just like a known fact. How he still ends up in these movies, I do not know. I have to assume it's some sort of blackmail. I mean, there's like no other way this creep keeps getting big roles like this. And the other reason that I was expecting this to not be very good is because of the director that they chose for it. I believe his name is Joaquin Roning. He's done some Disney movies in the past. He did Maleficent 2. He's done Pirates of the Caribbean 5. And if I'd have to guess, based on those movies, he probably is like a studio yes man, like someone that Disney just hires when they just need someone to just do whatever they want. I mean, Disney really likes to shoot themselves in the foot and get the most uninspired choices they can. And if they do get an inspired choice, it doesn't really matter because most of the time they'll suck out all that creative freedom. But what Tron Aries is a Tron movie. It's a movie with cool concepts, some great aesthetics, some incredible music and sound design, some great action scenes, and then a story that's a complete mess. So the plot of this movie is that Julian Dillinger, who's like the grandson of the Dillinger from the original movie, they don't really go too into that. I think they just assume you've seen the original, but he's like this millionaire, billionaire CEO of his own company, and he has figured out a way to manifest objects from the grid into the real world. He's like 3D printing them, and there's kind of this cool effect where every time they print something out, there's like all of those support beams surrounding them. Of course, the support beams, because it's a movie, they just kind of fall off, which is unrealistic. Really, it would be like days of snipping that apart, like bit by bit, until they got the vehicles out of there. But yeah, he's like showing off this invention to shareholders, and at first I was like, what's the point of this? Why would anybody want this? But you know, he's like taking these big ass like military vehicles out of the grid, and he's bringing soldiers from their world into ours, and I'm like, oh, I get it. It's like a military thing, because I'm sure the military could use a bunch of Tron vehicles and AI soldiers as fodder. But the catch is that this only works for 29 minutes, and after the initial 29 minutes, that object will derez. And I like that in the movie, how every time they derez, they do this like horrific like cry of pain, and then their body just shatters. And the movie plays a lot with that 29-minute gimmick, and I actually really appreciate that they stuck with it through most of the movie. It reminded me of Ben 10, how he's got like a timer on the Omnitrix, and he can only be a monster for so long. It adds a lot of urgency to the film. It makes it feel like the clock is ticking and they gotta get stuff done right away. But yeah, so this Julian Dillinger guy, he's got these 2 AI soldiers that work for him. He's always typing like command prompts into his computer, telling them what to do. And these are Ares and Athena. Ares played by Jared Leto, and Athena played by Jodie Turner-Smith. Meanwhile, there's a character named Eve Kim who I guess inherited NCOM after her sister died, but she's managed to find a way to manifest objects for more than 29 minutes using the permanence code. So of course Dillinger wants the code. He's willing to steal at any cost, so he sends his 2 AI soldiers into the real world to retrieve it from her. You know, I hate to say it, and I hate myself for saying this, but Jared Leto is actually pretty good in this movie. I think it's because he's just playing this like emotionless blank slate of a soldier. Like all he really has to do is just stand there and look good, so yeah, it works. But I do actually like his story a lot. Like I like that he's nothing more than a dispensable tool, and he's just sick of being treated that way, and he wants to escape. Eventually he does, and the film actually becomes sort of a fish out of water story. It actually kind of reminded me of the first Thor movie. There's kind of an implied romance between Eve Kim and Ares, and I very much did not like that, because all Ares did was spy on her search history and read her text messages, and yeah, it's a lot more creepy than it is romantic. I think that was one of the film's big misfires. I think some of the characters in this just felt very underdeveloped. There's lots of humor in this film. It's very different from the first 2, and I thought the humor was pretty hit or miss. It's like Marvel style humor. I'm sure that's what they were thinking when they made this, because Ares is supposed to be this like all-powerful superhero dude, so yeah, they were probably like making more like a Marvel film. I did appreciate the Depeche Mode's joke though, because Depeche Mode is great. But there's really not a lot done with the whole fish out of water concept, and I can't blame them, because these characters can only be outside of the grid for 29 minutes, so yeah, of course there wouldn't be a lot of time to develop that. Julian Dillinger was whatever as a villain, but I did really like Athena. I thought she was just super cool. I know I sound like a little kid, but like that's kind of the thing with Tron, is it's like you just have to stop thinking so hard and just enjoy it. But I love the idea of her being this like rogue AI that's basically the polar opposite of Jared Leto's character, where he has to learn humanity and she's just kind of thrown any ounce of humanity out the window. And I think this movie does have a darker edge to it. It's probably the darkest Tron movie, but you know, that's not saying a whole lot. More so aesthetically. Like, I love the use of reds and blacks in this movie. I just thought, for the most part, this film looked incredible. It was such an inspired choice for the film to be like, yeah, we're going all out on red and black. Like, I love that. Of course, you also have a score by Nine Inch Nails, which is really what I was most excited for. I like Nine Inch Nails, but I mean, doesn't everybody? I will say, though, that when it comes to Tron, they do not hold a candle to Daft Punk. When Daft Punk scored Legacy, it felt like truly special, because Daft Punk doesn't usually score films other than their own. But with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, it's like, well, they're already scoring a bunch of movies, so it's not really that special. The music's really good. There's kind of a mix of both fun and disappointing action scenes throughout this film. One of them that I really loved was the bike chase, kind of towards the middle of the movie. That was just excellent. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I think towards the end is where it starts to feel kind of lazy and half-assed, so you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. But at the end of the day, I think a big element of almost any movie is trying to decipher like what it has to say. I mean, Does Tron Aries have anything important to say? No. I don't know. I don't think that Tron Aries strongly believes in anything. I think it is just trying to be a popcorn movie. It tries to kind of throw you off with these themes of AI and humanity, and I don't feel like it's ever actually saying anything deep or sincere. I honestly think the film kind of leans towards being like pro AI, and I didn't like that. Mostly because there's this one scene where I think it was Eve Kim was being interviewed by this woman, and she asks, what is it about AI? You know, wouldn't you rather talk with people? And she's like, yeah, I would rather talk with people, but some people aren't around anymore. I was like, yeah, f you, movie. I don't know, just considering that this is made by Disney, it kind of left like a really bad taste in my mouth because I know they're not above AI. Disney as a corporation. I'm sure there's a ton of animators that work for them that do not believe in it. Yeah, so I think if you look into it too much, you might see this as like deceptive propaganda, but I also don't really know if that's what they were going for or if that was just an accident. Plus, there is no Tron in this movie, which is kind of funny because he was also barely in Tron Legacy. I kind of wanted to see some sort of follow-up to his sacrifice in that film, but yeah, just nothing. The movie's called Tron, and it's like, what the hell is a Tron? But that brings me to probably my biggest issue with this film. It's the fact that it retcons so much of Tron Legacy. Like, watching this, I was starting to think, oh, did they decanonize Tron Legacy? And then, like, towards the very end of the movie, not really a spoiler, very minor spoiler, but at the very end of the movie, they have, like, a photograph of Flynn's son and the girl he was with at the end of that movie. And I was like, no, you can't do that. You can't spend your entire movie, like, retconning something just to say it's canon at the very end. That, to me, felt like Disney was just like, throw that in there, otherwise we're going to piss off a bunch of fans. We need them to know that Tron Legacy is canon and we respect their opinions, but they clearly don't. In fact, I think the people that are going to hate this movie are probably people that really like Tron Legacy. I do enjoy Tron Legacy. I think it's a fun movie, but like, I don't really care about the story. And this movie actually feels a lot less like Tron 3 than it does a Tron spinoff. And I could see people hating that too. I actually kind of like that. It reminded me of reading like a comic book that's not canon to a TV show or movie, but is still just as fun. And I do think the second half of this movie had a lot of pacing issues. The first hour or so, I was completely on board. I was like, oh, this is actually like way better than I expected. In the second half, it keeps cutting between Earth and Jared Leto being inside of the grid with Jeff Bridges, which I think is in the trailer, so not a spoiler. And it's like an 80s version of the grid, which I don't know. I'm okay with that. It felt a little nostalgia baity. But it keeps cutting back and forth between what's happening there, where they're just talking, and then cutting back to the city where they're under attack. I was like, just stay on the city. There is a way to edit this where this could have worked much better, but it kept going back and forth, and I really didn't care what was going on with Ares at that point. But yeah, I really could have used some like extra re-editing just around that point. But overall, I do think this movie was very much heightened by the 3D and IMAX experience. I know I sound like a shill for that. Like, normally I don't really care if a movie's in 3D or whatever. Like, that doesn't matter to me if the movie's good. But I think when the movie is just kind of dumb fun and that's it, then yeah, it does help a lot. So I do recommend you see it if you see it that way, but you would already have to be a fan of Tron, and if you are a fan of Tron, you might just hate this even more, so I don't know. But yeah, I thought this movie was fun. I had a fun time. It's not anything amazing. It's not bad either. It's just an alright movie. I think like the mixed reviews for me makes a lot of sense, because it's hard to know what to make of Tron Aries. Alright, so that about sums it up. I'll see you all around in the next 15, 20, 30 years, whenever the next Tron comes out. I'm sure it'll be just as okay as the rest of them. Anyway, take care. Bye.